I am Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Girls don't have access to mobile phones as much as boys. We'll tell you about the growing gender tech gap. From beyond the grave, Professor Hawking has some new theories and predictions for humanity. The internet is back on for Assange. We hear from the former Ecuadorian ambassador. And animals doing stuff is a pig in the city. Babe, it ain't. Now, top of our news feed, girls' access to mobile phones. Young women are at a huge disadvantage because in some parts of the world they can't use the same tech as their male counterparts. And the fact they can't use that tech means that in countries that are already massively patriarchal, this tech divide serves to widen the gender gap, and that shouldn't be happening in 2018. Here's Akanksha.
Mobile phones and mobile internet has the potential to transform lives. So what difference would it make if every teenage girl in the world owned a mobile phone? Tech literacy can bring new and vast opportunities to them. But the gaps are huge. 184 million fewer women than men own a mobile phone according to a new study. And women are 26% less likely to use mobile internet than men.
Digital gender divide is basically the difference that men and women face when it comes to accessing and using digital technologies, including the web. Many of these factors tend to also be political, civic, economic, and social, and they also compound to make for a differentiated digital experience.
Reduced access means that girls more likely limit their use of mobiles for making calls or sending texts. The usage significantly differed in boys who use what's described as life-changing tech. That's the use of the internet to read the news or find work, and social apps like WhatsApp and YouTube. This gives boys in these areas a significant advantage over girls. The non-profit organization Girl Effect and the Vodafone Foundation surveyed 3,000 adolescent girls and boys in 25 countries in South Asia, the United States, and Africa. It showed girls in developing countries owned far fewer phones. For instance, in a big country like India, almost double the number of boys own a mobile phone when compared to girls. This ratio is similarly high in Nigeria, Rwanda, and Malawi. Girls are also hugely disadvantaged by social barriers.
If she doesn't get a mobile phone from her parents, she asks her friends, and if they say no, she asks her boyfriend.
The first barrier is that girls don't know how to use a phone and don't have anyone to teach them.
When a girl has a phone, people say she has started prostitution.
These attitudes are at the core of the problem. The reasons are complicated by patriarchal mindsets. But that may be causing newer power imbalances. Some girls in Africa said they had to trade sex for mobile phones. The study also found that industrious girls are getting their hands on mobile phone, even if it meant borrowing from a relative or family. Despite the odds, young women will continue to try and access tech opportunities. The world is a tap away, and the girls know it.
All right, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Now, Elon Musk has tweeted that it's time to build a mecha, that's a fighting robot from Japanese animated lore. And the tweet went viral with people replying to him with various memes. And everyone's pleased it's not a tweet that will get him into any trouble with the law like some of his previous ones. That's unless he uses his boring company to build an army of mecha and then try to take over the world. Nah, that'll never happen. In news you didn't know or care about, a pop star has broken up with her comedian boyfriend in what some observers are calling the most predictable separation since oil met water. Those involved are the extremely talented singer Ariana Grande and an SNL roster comedian called Pete Davidson. Jamal Khashoggi has not been seen since he walked into the Saudi consulate here in Istanbul over a week ago. Today, Turkish investigators have been allowed to search the building. Most observers think he's been killed by Saudi assassins. Here's how some cartoonists around the world have been covering the story. Professor Stephen Hawking made a huge impact on humanity while he was alive, and now posthumously he's still influencing debate. Some of his theories, previously undiscussed in such detail, will be published tomorrow, and some of the things Professor Hawking lays down have garnered a bit of a reaction on social media. Okay, let's go around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Monday. Now, 2 women were fined by an Israeli court for getting the pop star Lorde to cancel her concert in Tel Aviv. They say they've raised money to pay the fine through donations, but won't pay it and will give the money to a mental health charity in Gaza. The 2 women are from New Zealand. They're Justine Sachs and Nadia Abu Shanab. They wrote a letter to Lorde asking her not to play in Tel Aviv because of Israel's treatment of Palestinians. When she cancelled, an Israeli judge ruled that damages of $11,500 must be paid to 3 young Israeli women who'd purchased tickets. This video of a Chinese social media star has gotten her into big trouble with the powers that be. Yang Kali has been locked up for 5 days in Shanghai after singing the Chinese national anthem in a disrespectful way. Police said her video was an insult to the dignity of the song called March of the Volunteers. Yang Kali has apologized and said she will undertake patriotic education and training. Her videos have been removed from the sites Huya and at TikTok, where she had over 44 million followers. And according to the company that makes it, this year's Call of Duty had the biggest day one digital release. And physical sales in the UK are the lowest they've been for 11 years. Interestingly, this year's version has done away with the single-player campaign mode to concentrate on what they're calling Blackout Battle Royale. Julian Assange has had his internet privileges reinstated at the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he's been living since 2012. He's been in hiding from several authorities in Sweden, the US and the UK. His internet access was stopped back in March after Ecuador said he'd breached an agreement not to send messages that might interfere with other states. Well, TRT World sat down with the former Ecuadorian ambassador to London to get a sense of her role in a unique moment in world history.
You can say that there is an Anna before Assange and after Assange.
Anna Albin was Ecuador's ambassador to the UK when an unexpected visitor walked into the embassy. It was June 2012, and that visitor was Julian Assange.
What we lived and the experience that we had were very, very interesting and uncommon. He showed me a world that I wasn't aware that existed. I wasn't aware of this Big Brother world that we live in.
2 months later, the WikiLeaks founder was granted asylum, and he has been inside the embassy since.
My expectation was we are not going to have light in this for 7 years, maybe 10 years. So that is what I said since the beginning. He knew how his life was going to be. So, and he knew the limitations of the space. What is happening now that he wants to survive.
Assange fled to the embassy to avoid extradition to Sweden over a rape allegation.
Julian, as a free man that he is, he began to do things as giving opinions about the relation between Spain and Catalonia and the elections in the United States and some other things.
Not just opinions.
Well,
Assange was granted Ecuadorian citizenship in December 2017.
He said that he cannot be detained of saying what he needs to say because that's why he asked for asylum. But given asylum is not, let's say, a free card to do whatever he thinks. He has to have some rules. But he's like he is. He has no rules.
So, can they reach an agreement, a solution with the British government?
The solution has to come between the Ecuadorian government, the British government.
As of today, it is still not known whether he will be arrested if he leaves the embassy.
So we might have Assange be in the Ecuadorian embassy for many more years to come.
Seems to be.
People living in Gaza are already under occupation, and now what little space they have to try and live with dignity is being further squeezed by the Israelis.
يعني حياة لا تطاق والله ما احنا قادرين نعيش بالمرة بتاتا. بيجيبوا شهادة لانشات بواخر كبار مكلفات المفروض هدول يسرحوا فوق ال20 ميل عشان يجيبوا رزق اولادهم وسيادتهم.
فيش مجال. احنا منطقتنا كلها حوالي 27 كيلو. لما انت بدك نروح ان شملت الطراد بيجيك ببهدلك، ان قبلت الطراد بيجيك، وممكن المصريين كمان. يعني احنا بحصار عمره ما مر في تاريخ العالم.
And in Monday's Animals Doing Stuff, we present to you a giant pig. Now, this massive guy was wandering the streets of San Bernardino in California before being accosted by the law. And it wasn't the first time that they'd come across the porcine, so they used a certain corn-baked snack to lure it back to its owner, Doritos. And they put the rescue on their Instagram for the whole world to enjoy. And that is all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again tomorrow.